This video is going to be about applying a shadow from this cuboid that is wedged into the cylinder and also wedged into the side of this other cuboid. So it's going to hit both of those forms and create a shadow. This angle from here down to this corner, and I'm going to make a straight line. Okay, so that line here exists. That is going to be there. I'm just going to get my 2H pencil and fill that, or my actually my 2H pencil, and just fill that little value in. Just make it a little bit darker. Actually, my H pencil will probably do a better job. All right. That is the value that's going down that flat plane there. But this flat plane now, oh, actually, it goes down a little further. I'm sorry, I made a mistake. I thought something looked a little weird. It goes all the way down to here. So that's going to be the shadow. As you can see, I'm just filling this little corner in. And then the shadow hits this guy. That same shadow is going to hit this guy, which is the round form, and it's going to do something like this. It's just going to kind of curve in. And basically, if you want to continue with that same line, because that's where it hits it, and it's just diagonal, that kind of goes that way. And you could use that at diagonal as somewhat of a guide, but basically, once it hits the beginning of the cylinder, which is right here, then it's going to start to curve similar to the cylinder. And so I'm just going to follow this curve. I'm just going to follow this curve and let it just fade away into the cylinder itself. So I'm just somewhat adding a curve on my own here. There's not a science behind it. And then I just add the value. What's this, an F? No, it's 2. The H I had a second ago was perfect, and it's not around. Here it is. And again, I'm just putting a layer on this, following the line that I created. And not much of it's changing. There's a little bit of a tone that's getting slightly darker here. So now I'm going to just maybe go in another direction with my H. Still not doing anything, so I'm going to use my F. The main thing is you don't want it to be darker than this, you want it to be darker than this. But you still want it to maintain the value structure that you had there originally. And you kind of see I'm just letting it fade out. And that may be enough. All right, the next thing, I'm just going to leave that as is for the moment, because part of me I could have gone in a little less of a turn, but I'm going to leave it at that. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take this guy from here and slide it over here, because this is going to cast a shadow. Most of the shadow is going to be on the other side that you can't see, but there's also going to be a shadow casted right here. And I'm going to slide this over. And then all right, there we go. So there is a line here that I'm putting in, right? And because this is a curved form, I don't really have to figure out the line that's back here. I don't have to do anything in the transparency. It's just going to go off the form. And because this is a curved form, it's going to do something like this. So it's going to start there, and it's going to just follow the curve of the form itself. And then I can get my, in this case, I think I'm going to use my F because it's on the dark part. And I'm just going to fill this shape in. And again, I'm curving. The reason I curve that straight, I use the straight line because that's the angle of the light source. And I don't have to do the, what do you call it? Shadow line here because it's on a vertical plane. So there's just one piece of information I have to put in here, and it just kind of fades out. And that's it. I don't want to make it any darker. It's going to start to stand out too much, so I'm just going to leave it at that. There's another area right here on this cone I can put in. And then there's also, there's other parts that I'm not going to talk about yet. I'm going to make another video for them about this pyramid. Also how this cuboid is making a shadow here, and how this cylinder is making a shadow there. But this is a really easy one. This should do something like this. And it's probably just going to follow that plane here, I guess. Actually, no, I think it's going to go in the middle. I'm going to make something up as I go right now. So I'm going to take this angle here, put it right on the side here. This is where the shadow is going to go here, but it's also, I think it'd curl a little bit. I'm just going to put it on here for now. I can always curl it. And then it's going to, typically it would follow the angle of the plane. But in this case, I think it's going to compensate between the angle of this, the sun line, which is right here, and the angle of the plane, which is right here. So it's going to be somewhat in the middle. So I think if I do something like this, that should work just fine and not really be a major question. So I'm just going to do that, fill this in, and let it be the shadow. I don't really question it. I'm going to go with it. And I will come back to this later. I have another video, The more I stare at this, the more shadows you start to see. And I just realized that there's going to be a shadow of this form, casting a shadow on the side plane of the cuboid here. So because it's on the side plane, it's not on the ground plane, I only need to use my, I call them sun lines or light lines. So there's a line here, and then I'm going to put a line on where it, see this ellipse here, where the back of it touches. And then basically, I'm going to just guesstimate where this shadow, it's going to start here and then come back in. So is it long? Is it short? I don't know yet. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to extend this about, I'm going to pull it down right here. I don't want to pull it behind this because I want to be able to see it. And then if I want to make it longer, I can make it longer. So I'm basically trying to make this curve right here. You can kind of see what I'm trying to do here. And I'm bringing the curve right back in. So that seems to be the angle that I'm going to put it in, and I'm going to fill this in here. Looks good to me. What was the next one I wanted to do? I'm going to add this one in here now. This is the sphere. It's going to cast a shadow on the side plane. So since it's a side plane, I'm just using the sun line, not the shadow line. And it's going to do something like this. And then from there, it's going to just kind of curl. And I'm going to curl it up, not to the edge of the circle, because I think that's just going to look a little weird. So I'm just going to curl it about right here. I also wanted to curl it all the way out there, but I think that could do it. And then I'm just going to add the value right here. I don't want this to look too confusing and make it look like a full circle again. So that's why I went with that. All right, so this next shadow I'm going to apply is this big cuboid here, casting a shadow on top of the cylinder here, and it's also going to cast a shadow on top of the hexagonal prism that's below it. And in order to figure that out, we have to utilize this concept, which is all the vertical lines are going to have a sun angle and a shadow angle. And you can kind of see, you can make up your sun and angle, or both of those angles, but they have to remain consistent. So I just drew the angle in. I went to my angle up here, and then I slid down to this one, and I'm putting that line in, okay? I'm also gonna put that, I don't have to put the line in here because I have a feeling I'm not gonna need it because the plane does not carry on over there. I think I'm gonna get all the information I need just from making my triangular shape from this one lamppost thing. And then here's the other angle here, which is my shadow line. So those two lines meet right here. I'm just going to put a dot so I just know that that's where they meet. But if you look at this line right here, basically the shadow is going to wrap around this form, and it's going to probably come close to that line, right? And then at that point, it's just going to go straight out. So that little point that I made, I'm going to put it parallel to this line right here. I'm going to slide up and make a line straight out. So the shadow is going to start here and work its way over. Hide behind that form, maybe, unless it's just a little bit more wider. And then I'm going to use my H pencil, use a piece of paper, and I'm going to fill this in one step darker than exists on that plane. And on this plane, I'm going to use my 2H, there it is, and fill this in. because the whole thing is going to get hit by the 2H. And the nice thing I don't have to worry about is the shadow hitting this cone, because it's kind of hits behind it. So the shadow will be behind it, not in front of it. And I don't have to worry about applying that shadow in. So that's nice. So since I'm filling this in, I'm just going to sit down. And remember, this should just be one step darker. I'm probably just going to put two light layers on. So it's clearly a step darker. It just can't be super, super light. I'm going to go in another direction. And I'm using my hard pencil because I don't want it to be too dark. A 2H in this situation. And I think that should be it. That's the shadow that it creates. That's right here. Because this value and this value are so close, I can do one of two things, or both, which I'll probably do both. I can eventually darken the tone of the side plane a little bit more, just so it pops, or pops really isn't the best descriptor here, but just so there's a contrast, so it differentiates between the bottom plane. So just by adding a little bit of a value right here, I think that helped a bit. And then I'm also going to get this dark blue pencil. And I'm going to reestablish this line, because we are marrying line together. And this line here. All right, that is it.